thank you all for joining us. Welcome to the Earning Curve. The Earning Curve is a new platform and webinars and different than other webinars you may have attended in the past. We let all of you drive the questions as the audience, so go ahead and start thinking of your questions and put them into the chat. There's a thought bubble icon at the bottom of the screen. You can just type your questions in. My name is Mary Ann Biangardi, and I'm the head of business development at Schmershel Treloar and Company. Today's topic is how marketing contributes to the customer buying journey. Our experts will share their perspectives on how marketing can help you to better serve your customers and improve your business. In order to, I've already gone over that, I'm sorry, the questions. I do have to apologize. We are down one expert panelist today. Dan Klein, our lead panelist, is unable to attend. And he did let us know that we can make fun of him for not being able to join. His internet is spotty. He's out of town. He can't figure out the tech issues, but we have it under control because we've got 3 other excellent panelists. So I will go ahead and start introductions with those guys. So we're going to start with Karen Leuterstein. Karen is the vertical marketing leader for Equifax. She's responsible for developing and implementing marketing strategies, as well as overseeing go-to-market execution, solutions, marketing, and program management for a portfolio of products. She's also passionate about helping leaders modernize their marketing functions. So welcome, Karen. G.V. Freeman is next. He's a growth strategist with over 20 years of experience living at the center of a marketing, product, sales, and self-care Venn diagram. He pulls from all of these disciplines to help startups launch, companies grow, and entrepreneurs live integrated lives. GV is a spiritual tourist. He travels the world, attends as many concerts as possible, and loves spending time with his friends and soul family. Chris Westmeyer is next. Oh, welcome, GV. Chris Westmeyer is next. Chris with Digital Strike. He's the principal and strategic lead. His expertise is in lead generation and search marketing. Chris spends the rest of his free time with his wife and his twin boys playing hockey. So before we open it up to questions, I want to ask Karen a starter question as the lead panelist. And after she responds, I would love for all the other panelists to go ahead and jump in. Oh, hold on. Let me see. I lost my question. Hang on one second. We're kind of just all over the place today. So Karen, what is the customer buying journey, and why is it important for marketing to understand how a customer decides to purchase from you?
Good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here. And sorry about all of our technical difficulties, but we're scrappy. And I think that's a great segue into this conversation, because I think that when people think about the buying journey, oftentimes they think, wow, that's just really big. It's overwhelming. How do I really make this happen and operationalize it? And it can be much more simple than it sounds. You know, so really to me, a customer buying journey is different than a prospect buying journey. And you know, expanding a current customer is very much a different map than, you know, meeting with and engaging a new customer. And really, depending on your business and depending on your go-to-market strategy, a journey will look very different based on the size of your organization, what it is you're selling, and many other nuances. But really, it's about mapping out what the individual is thinking, feeling, and doing at every stage of their buying process. And so when I say their buying process, I think that is a really critical component. Oftentimes, I see organizations that are really mapping based on their selling process, and modern day buyers don't care about our sales process. They are following their own process, and it's really critical for modern marketers to understand what that process is so that they can meet the customer where they are. And so that's a just a very high level overview of how I would define a customer or a buyer journey.
I might tag in just a little bit, and based on sort of our interesting way of starting this whole panel today, a little unexpected. And I think that very traditionally, we as marketers think that the buyer's journey is very sequential. And the buyer and the sales journey is very sequential, and we kind of plan for that. And I think much like the way that we're kind of kicking this thing off is it's sometimes it's not as sequential or expected or planned as what we try and make it out to be. The traditional like sales funnel, marketing funnel, I think has kind of went completely upside down. As people begin to choose their own path, we have to give people a lot of entry points and a lot of exit points and know that they're probably going to leave and come back. And providing lots of opportunity for people to engage with us at multiple points in the buyer's journey is also really important, and kind of expecting the unexpected.
Yeah, what's kind of interesting that we see a lot of is a lot of people who look into kind of lead generation, digital marketing, they really don't want to concern themselves with the buyer's journey. They want to deal with the bottom of the funnel. They're excited about getting a lead here or there, but they're not really willing to invest in the top part of the funnel, the activities, the touch points that need to happen. As Karen kind of stated, it's not what you want to do. It's kind of how they want to learn and what they want to ingest and how they want to process it. And we work in a tremendous amount of different verticals. So as you start learning and looking at how people want to touch or interact with content or information, you can start building those out, but they aren't linear or sequential, as you were saying, GV. They kind of dart around, and it's just one of those things that is a constant education process for us as we go in and talk to new clients and new opportunities and partners, and just show them the value of looking at that whole journey instead of just focusing on the bottom part of that or the lead gen part of it.
Thank you, guys. We do have a question here in chat. So how does marketing work to understand what customers really want and how they want to buy? Why is having a defined process beneficial to gaining those understandings?
Do you want to jump in, GV? I saw you getting ready there.
Yeah,
I mean, we got rid of Dan, so the amateurs are out of this right now. It's just all of us, okay? Karen, you and I.
The first thing that I think of, at least the first half of that question, is talk to your customers. I think that it's something that I like to do little field trips with sales and marketing departments. The sales team tends to talk to customers a lot. The marketing teams tends to talk to customers none. And we have these ideas in our mind about what messaging works, and we get brand guidelines and we push out content, but we very rarely as marketers have direct conversations with customers. So I like to tell the marketing team to go hang out with the sales team frequently, and vice versa. So the first way I think that we begin to understand what the buyer's journey is, the customer journey, is to begin like integrating with sales and really understanding from the customer's point of view how they are operating. And just it's through a lot of good questions, open-ended questioning, and listening for stories.
GV, there's a question in the thing, but I want to answer where you were going. There are situations though where it's not easy to connect with the customers, and sometimes the sales teams really can't provide that information. So we've been able to use marketing messaging and test it against engagement or how it starts that process. So sometimes if we don't have the ability to get at the customer level, we'll have to test and iterate based on how people are interacting with the messaging, with the information we're providing. So we run into kind of both of those, where if we get a chance to talk to the sales team and or current or prior customers, that's a huge win for us. But a lot of times they won't give us access. So we literally have to test and figure out how best people want to connect. And it's different. Even in the same vertical, it's different based on the brand. Someone just, Daniel just asked, can you give some examples of top of funnel activities in relation to the buying journey? I'm going to give you one example, and I'll share it just from the senior living space. What's interesting is Facebook and social media generally are average lead drivers for senior living communities, but what they're really great at doing is creating awareness, creating an understanding, creating a platform to communicate your message, your value proposition. And what we see is when you're executing top of the funnel brand awareness, brand positioning, communicating your value proposition, that the bottom part of the funnel becomes easier to navigate. The click-through rates happen, the conversion rates increase, things like that. So a lot of times what we see as top of the funnel types of examples are really about brand building and communicating the message and the value propositions for the individual brands that we work for. So a lot of times it's just creating that awareness so that there's incremental growth at the bottom later down the line. Karen or GB, do you want to jump in on that?
I will mention just starting a project fairly recently that did not exist. A retreat that I'm hosting did not exist previously. All of the messaging was in my head and in talking to. Here's a great example. Like I went to potential prospects for this retreat and listened to what they were saying and pulled a lot of the words that they were using with me. And then I did go, to Chris's point, I went to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and started running very high level ad campaigns. The ads were exactly the same, designed exactly the same, but I used different messaging on every one of those ads. And I took about 4 or 5 of those ads and just started to look at conversion rates and engagement rates about who was actually clicking on the ads and just helping to understand what was resonating with people. And in my specific case, I was trying to figure out whether more people were resonating with kind of the pain, uncertainty, and doubt. Like if you don't come to this retreat, you're going to experience more pain, uncertainty, and doubt. Or if you come to this retreat, you're going to experience like really positive benefits and gains. And I was trying to determine whether or not pain or gain was going to work better to attract customers to this experience. And just doing some A/B testing at the top of the funnel, really low cost testing, really helped me begin to refine my message and the content that I was producing for people farther down in the funnel. So I would echo that Chris's testing strategy works really well, and I was able to start making some predictions within a couple of weeks.
Sorry, Karen, jump in.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything that you've been sharing. One thing I would add is I would find a way to organize the information you're collecting in some kind of a repository. Again, terminology and language that the buyer is using to make sure that you're speaking in a way that really uses the language that they're accustomed to. Find their watering holes. Where are they hanging out? Where do they go for information? And make sure that you're there, with the right messages and information that can help them. Going back to the question about top of the funnel, I really see that as education and helping them to get smarter about their challenges. I see a lot of companies that are talking about how great they are, talking about how great their solutions and products are. Nobody cares. They really don't. They care about keeping their jobs. They care about the business challenges and how they're going to grow their business. And if you don't have a way to get them smarter so that they can be successful in their roles, you're not going to be successful in selling whatever it is that you're trying to sell. And so top of the funnel is really about making them smarter, giving them a little value so that you can, in return, ask for their time, get to know them better, and start the relationship and start advancing the opportunity toward more of those solutions that can help them solve their pain.
Karen, I think you articulated that a little bit better. Thank you. Generally, I think to answer Daniel's question, can you give some examples? It's heavily reliant on educational opportunities. Just to give you a really firm example, and I'm going to just happen to go back to senior living because it's what we were dealing with today, some opportunities. It's answering questions that they may have, like, what's the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's? Now, they may not be looking for a memory care facility, but we're starting that journey and we're educating them to tell them the difference, to help provide information, to reassure them, and ultimately, hopefully, to become part of the selection set at the end if that need arises. So it's a lot of education.
So I want to ask, and I'm 100% believer in educational content, but I also know that the amount of content that is being produced today is so overwhelming. And I'm just curious. I'm going to ask both of you two right now, like, how do you overcome content overwhelm and the amount of content that people are able to get access to? Like, how do we take the education, my unique perspective, and get it into the right hands at the right time?
I would say a lot of it, because GV, you're right. There's a million people writing a million articles, and there's tons of information out there. Really, where we're successful is how we position it. Where do we put it within the path? How do we get them to stumble on it? How does it rank in search? How does it appear in ads? How does it follow them? So a lot of what we have is just making sure that we can figure out how to get in front of the audience, because there is so much noise. Doesn't mean that they always pick us, and it doesn't mean our content is always the best. There may be WebMD that has a little bit better content on something, but what we're always trying to do is take our content, make it better, the best it can be, and then literally lay it in front so they almost trip over it all the time. So that gives us a little bit of an unfair advantage. Now,
Yeah, and some of the,
sorry, all I was going to say is some of the brands don't have the equity that larger brands have. So a lot of it's placement because they just don't, they're not as well known. So, RC Cola may not be as well known as Coca-Cola. So it's kind of positioning for them where to be, how to be, and then ultimately just being in front of their target audience as much as possible. Sorry, Karen.
No, yeah. I think search is huge. And if you don't have a search engine marketing strategy, then, and it's all pay for play, then you are in trouble. You have to be a part of that. And candidly, there's experts out there who do this really well. Not everyone is skilled in this area. I do not even dabble in it. I hire experts or work with experts because it is very complex, but it's an investment that I think is really worth making when it comes to making sure your content gets seen over the plethora of content that's out there. The other thing I would say is I'm a big believer in trends and best practices. And I'll tell you, when I have a problem, I want to know what somebody like me is doing to solve that problem. And so I don't think that all ideas need to be original. I think that if you can curate ideas from your audience, your buyers, your experts, to say, here's what other leaders like you, other business owners, other finance individuals, other HR people, whatever it is, whoever it is you're targeting, here's how they're solving for this issue. that's always going to keep new, fresh ideas coming. And that will always be interesting to individuals. And it's always hard to get your hands on that because it takes a lot of work to gather and collect and curate information from others. So that's one idea, I think, for keeping content fresh. And that's what I go after.
I want to echo something that Karen said because I think it's really important to hear this. And this idea of pay to play is more, I have become more aware of this in the last 60 days. Because while I do spend the majority of my time working B2B, and social has never been a huge driving force in many of the campaigns that I roll out because we're typically selling enterprise stuff. As I have tried to dip my toe into the social world, I have realized that no matter how great my content is, how well it's shared, in this specific case, LinkedIn could care less about the content that I am producing. I created an amazing piece of content and I reached out individually to 2,500 LinkedIn connections and asked them to like and share this single piece of content. And even with all of that engagement from my network, very few people saw and had a chance to interact with that. When I switched to the pay to play model and when I took that same piece of content and dropped it into an advertising campaign, significantly different results in the exact same platform. So I just think that at this point, if social is a part of your demand gen strategy, you need to make sure that you have budget allocated to start getting your content in front of other people because organic social is probably not going to work as well as you need it to. Is that your experience too, Chris?
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of UGV and Karen, so this is going to be like a double piggyback. I'm not even sure what that's called, but basically at this point, there really is no free lunch. You can create the best content, you can do the best stuff in the world, and you're not going to be the next viral sensation in search and social or anything. And the problem is people come into us all the time and say, well, we're great. We produce great content. We're an incredible company. And I go, well, that's just not enough. That's not enough to be a player in the digital world. So GV, you may have probably the single greatest program going on right now with what you're building, but honestly, no one cares, even though it's incredible. And so the social platforms don't care, search doesn't care. So it ultimately comes to pay for play. And then to Karen's point, even organic is such a high stakes game. And yes, we can make it work. And that's what we do day in, day out. I mean, we're a search focused digital marketing agency, but it's as expensive as paid. It's link acquisitions, it's content creation, it's time, it's technical fixes. There's so much that goes into it in time, money, investment that people think magically it'll just work. So what to kind of say what you both have, you even at the top of the funnel, you are literally, and Daniel's followed up. So the top of the funnel is actually a pay to play also, even though it's supposed to appear more organic. So all throughout, we're paying, whether it's top, middle, or bottom. There's an investment, and you have to consider that entire investment to make sure it's worth the journey for your ROI.
I'll add on to a little bit of Daniel's kind of second question. On the marketing side, top of funnel demand gen, absolutely pay to play. If you think of what top of funnel looks like on the B2B side for sales, it's a little bit different. Your money's going to a different place, but you're likely buying lists, you're buying software like Outreach or SalesLoft, you are writing long email sequence or email sequences that include like 10 to 20 touches. You are hiring a BDR team to go out and generate leads. So you're paying to play one direction or another. You're just going to be spending your resources on different things depending on whether you're creating demand gen and marketing or whether you're using outbound lead gen on the sales side.
I'm thinking about giving it all up, GV, and let's just make some funny TikTok videos and see if we can just, rule the world here.
Well,
Karen,
and
you in?
I'm
I
in.
think that is, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Karen.
No, I'm in.
I think that it's there's a very unique short period of time for every new social network, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Clubhouse, that you have a very short period of time to become an influencer, to get all of the followers, and then once it's saturated, you just become part of the mix. And if you're not one of the first 200 sensations on TikTok or 200 sensations on whatever new social media platform it is, you better just plan on paying to be seen. I think that they're designing the platform in that way now because that's where they're making their money.
Yeah, and so I think just to round out what we're all saying, integrated marketing is your best bet. Mixing organic and paid is a really effective way to cover all your bases. There are times when I can find an organic, strategy or activity that works really well. And sometimes it surprises me. There are times when I'll put a little investment into a pay for play method and it performs spectacularly. So I will double down on that investment and invest more. Slow and steady incremental test and learn approaches is really critical if you're just starting out. And I think that as marketers, we need to make data-driven decisions, right? Make sure that you're measuring and really defining what success looks like before you make an investment. Try some new things. If they don't work, make sure you can get out quickly and put your money elsewhere. But I do think that there's a lot of scrappy ways that you can be successful in your marketing efforts without spending tens of thousands of dollars. It's really important, though, to understand how and where to invest your money based on your business. And so I see a lot of people waste money on, for example, a lot of organizations think you hire an agency, you pay them a retainer every month, and you see success, and they take care of marketing for you. Just doesn't work that way. There's not a one and done, okay, I'm going to do PR and I'm going to get my name out there. That's not the way it works. Marketing is a complex mix of tactics, strategies, activities. There's a blurred line between what is sales and what is marketing. And so really having a plan, executing on the plan, and mixing things up is critical for success. And there's no cookie cutter formula, unfortunately.
Karen, I think you made a good point that sales and marketing mix up a lot. What we see a lot of are companies who come to us with a sales plan and no marketing plan. They just have a goal for their sales. They've got a team, they've got a list, they've got whatever, but they have nothing to educate, to inform, to build up on organically or paid. And a lot of times the success just isn't there because it hasn't been thought out. The KPIs haven't been defined. The process, they've shotgunned it, in the past, just threw a whole bunch of things out and enough of it worked that they were okay. What we struggle with as an agency is trying to control and get them to focus on one or two efforts while we're measuring and qualifying the value of them going forward, and if they're going to be part of our funnel or part of our process. But a lot of people just don't invest as much into the marketing plan as they do the sales plan that we see. They're ready to get $1 million in sales, but just haven't committed the time, the energy, the thought, the KPIs, the process to the marketing side.
I actually have one question now that I'm listening to you guys. So I kind of do a little bit of marketing and a lot of sales and business development at the accounting firm. If we, to Karen's point, like if we invest in something like some paid ads, now a lot of times it's got to be strategic because nobody's going to pick an accounting firm over social media. I mean, in our opinion, it's usually like referral based, but we are trying to get our brand out there. So if we put some ads out, like in a newspaper, the Business Journal, construction newsletters, things like that, how long should we continue doing that? Is there a time frame, not just to help myself, but maybe some of our listeners? Is there a time frame to give it before we say this is not working and we're just dumping money into this every year? Like, should you give it a 6 months, a year, 2 years? Like, how long before, because we have a long sales cycle. Do you know what I'm saying? How long should we give it before we're just like pulling the plug? Okay, that's not working. Let's try something else.
So, Marianne, when you're thinking about this, it really comes down to a lot of variables. What is the message that you're going with this strategy? Are you saying we're the largest, we're the best, we're the oldest, we're the most trusted? What are you trying to create? Not just brand awareness, but how are you trying to position the brand while you're creating the awareness? If you're known as something already, it doesn't take quite as much effort. If you're not known as that and you're trying to carve out a place for yourself, there was a bank in St. Louis, and they decided they are going to be the largest SBA lender in the area. That was their goal. And they drove all their marketing to push for SBA loans to do that. And that crafted their messaging, dictated how long they're going to run, looked at the success rates of how many new opportunities were coming in down the pipe later for that. But it wasn't just hey, we're a bank, we're here, and if you need us. So
we need to think of something that we're trying to kind of work with Spoke on that, but we need to think of a way to, we were talking about humanizing our brand. We are approachable, and we don't want to say we're the largest. We don't want to say we're the best. I mean, everyone's a good accountant. So once we get that message.
Let's go back to Shane for a second.
Yeah.
Do I care if you're approachable? Do I care? What I care is if you're accurate.
Right.
What I care.
We're not going to say we're better, because a lot of accounting firms are very accurate, but I don't want to say, oh, we're the most accurate. That's not true. There's a lot of good technical people.
So a lot of times saving me time is worth a lot more, and understanding that you're valuable. My favorite is, I love to use enterprises, classic tagline. They do not say, we will make this easy for you. We will make your life easy. We will, ensure we don't have the cheapest car, so we don't have this. What they say is, we'll pick you up.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
What that screams is, we're going to make this easy on you.
Yeah.
We're here to help you without having to say we're here to help you.
Yeah.
And so once you figure out who you are and how you want to go, it really needs to be based on what your target audience wants from you. And that's that exercise where Shane's out there. Either you're testing messaging, or you're talking to sales and you're talking to your current customers. Why do they pick you? Why did they stay with you? And push them really hard. Once you have that, then I don't think you quit branding. I think you go, and it isn't 6 months or a year.
You just keep it, because you don't know really where your leads are coming from, because we're everywhere. We've got ads everywhere. You don't want to pull some. You can't say it's not working. It might be.
Well, here's the crazy part. We work for Brown and Crouppen. We work for, large law firms like that. And there is a dark funnel. The dark funnel is a problem for a lot of people. There's a lot of awareness that's created that you can't always completely attribute to one other activity. So one example I heard the other day was, there was a LinkedIn ad, and a person saw it. They screenshotted it, dropped it into Slack, shared it with their team, and said, I think I want to do this program. That program was shared with another Slack channel of like-minded marketing people, and said, this is a cool new opportunity, and someone signed up for it. How in God's name can you track that? It's next to impossible. It's a screenshot of a thing, so they just went and looked it up. So I'm not saying you don't want to measure. I'm not saying you don't want to try to get as much data. But honestly, once you have your messaging, I would say, and you found your target audience, not just throwing up on billboards on the side of Highway 270 just randomly, but once you found your target audience, I say you go all in and continue pushing, pushing, pushing. And what you'll see is you'll collect more at the back end over time. Even though it takes 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, you will get more because you're thought of as the thought leader here. And I want that. So I will gravitate towards you once my accounting firm lets me down.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I
Sorry,
think it's
my other answer was 7 months.
and then we could always say, what would Dan say, but he's not here.
I would
Yeah.
say even 3 months. I would even go less because
Oh, 3 months,
I-
Karen. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I think that print advertising is a waste,
Okay.
especially with B2B.
Okay. So you think more referrals and just, or what would you say is the top for B2B?
It's just, I mean, in the business journal, that's a pure awareness play, but it's very difficult to measure. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it really depends on what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to promote. I mean, is it demand generation? Is it cross-sell, upsell? Gosh, it just depends. If you're truly after awareness and that's all you're after, how are you going to measure that?
Okay.
And I think that I would just add that this kind of attribution model, which is really what we're sort of talking about now, is, and this goes all the way back to the beginning thing that we talked about, it, the buyer's journey being complicated and sort of people come in and out, but do I give attribution? So in this case, so if somebody clicks on one of my social media ads and they hit the website and they download a piece of content and then they go dark and somebody on my sales team follows up with them, and they're not ready to buy yet, but then they get on our email list and we send them an email for 6 months, and then they call in and have a question and talk to a different salesperson, and now 7-8 months into it they're like, hey, I do need some help, I'd like to buy from you, or I'd like to become a customer. Well, when we look at how we want to attribute that lead, is it the original like social media ad? Is it the content that was created? Is it the first salesperson that they talked to? Is it the last person, the salesperson that they talked to? And it becomes really, really complex and confusing, especially when you have a long sales cycle or you're producing a lot of content. They had to get there some way. So in some cases that social media, that really inexpensive kind of demand gen social media ad drove them to begin the process, but it's not the only thing that closed the lead. So if you don't run that kind of brand awareness campaign, they might not ever find you to begin with, but it's going to be really hard. I talk to a lot of, people in the marketing and at the executive level. You do performance marketing and you do brand marketing. Performance marketing is going to probably be much more easily tracked. Brand marketing is going to be pretty soft, squishy, and fuzzy to track, but it still has value. Coke wouldn't spend money promoting polar bears if it didn't work. And I don't know if they do polar bears anymore. It's just the first thing that I thought of related to brand marketing. They don't want to sell Coke. They just want to tell cool stories. But those cool stories end up reminding people why they walk in and buy Coke off the shelf.
What's also interesting is Karen brought up cross-selling, upselling, things like that. To that point, even though I would be a referral partner for you, GV, for your upcoming event, I did not think of someone to share with you until I received one of your marketing emails. And I forwarded that to a friend who all of a sudden your message resonated with me. But for some reason, in you and I sitting having lunch and talking through it, I didn't think of that person as the target audience, but when you communicated and you kept messaging me, in your marketing automation around the event, I saw how it related to someone else, and I decided to forward that email over. That person may just call you out of the blue. They're not on your email list. They're not anywhere. But I was a referral partner and I didn't know it, but you educated me more and it helped me become a better partner. So sometimes even just marketing to your own, your own customers, your own internal team, everyone can help grow that also.
Yeah, I like what GV said about the, like how someone's not ready to buy, but then you go ahead and send them, put them on your email list, and you just hit them. And then, a year later, we've had people come back to us, yeah, we're ready to buy now, where we thought, maybe they'll initially think they need help, but they don't right then, or that it's just not the right time, or, there's multiple partners and they can't make a decision. So then later, we just keep hitting them with emails, inviting them to events. It's just staying in front of them. I feel like that is kind of what you guys are all saying, but it's really true. Just staying in front of people all the time. So when they need help, they will come to you.
Marianne, one of the examples, and I'm going to roll back because we do a lot of senior living marketing. A client came to us and we were running to a landing page that they had created on their own about scheduling a tour or talking to an advisor. And the problem is when someone was typing memory care facilities or assisted living near me, they weren't ready to just get married on the first date. They wanted to get more information. They wanted to learn a little bit. And so the engagement rate was relatively low. So we went back to them and said, why don't we offer a soft option and just A/B split test? We moved over to literally download a brochure with a couple questions around it. Where are you in your journey? Is this for you or for someone else? And what happened was we went from 2 to 4 leads for a tour or to speak to someone in a month to around 60 brochure downloads, because what we found were people were just looking to collect information, maybe to share with loved ones, to sit down and talk about a plan for their parent or whatever, but they weren't ready to pick us today, the community today. So to be part of that selection set, we had to offer them something. And it just so happened they wanted an online brochure and were willing to fill out a form to get it, which boggled my mind. I figured they would, gating it would become a problem. And ultimately, 60 days later, the client is starting to have the largest amount of tours, move-ins, everything that they've had in the last 5 years. So what's happening is engaging with people how they want to engage, being part of that process, providing whether it's educational or informational material to them at the right time really helps them feel comfortable in making their decision along the journey, and it lets us be part of the selection set. And then honestly, a lot of it comes down to the brand, the product, the service, the sales process that they have after that. But those are the things that we can affect, is getting them in front of that right opportunity and giving them the right message or the right offering.
Okay, we do have another question here in the chat. What's the difference between the company owning a sales process that they define and control versus ceding control of the buying process to the customer? How does that benefit the company and a prospective customer? How does marketing specifically support that effort?
I just think that it's funny that a company anytime, anywhere thinks that they actually have control of the buying process. I don't think that I think we can sort of plan, we can think that we have control, and really the control in large part is the control that we perceive that we have is in large part based on historical data. So we see how people have bought in the past, therefore we create sales processes that sort of align with our customers' buying process. And I think that that implies that we have some control. But the reality is, and especially now with so much of the buying process happening before we even talk to a customer. And there's so much research that's being done before people show up that we just have to meet the customer exactly where they're at. And I think that having touchstones in the buying process and for salespeople to be able to ask some qualifying questions to figure out where people are at in the process, and then just going with the flow and having to the second half of the question, how does marketing help? Marketing needs to enable sales at every step in the buying process. So if somebody is ready to decide, but they just need a little push, then marketing has to have something to get them over the hump. If they're much further earlier in the sales process, marketing has to provide content for that. And sales needs to know what content is available at every step in the journey so they can pull it out when they need it. That's my perspective.
Yes, I could not agree with that more. And if you look at a buyer aligned sales process, typically you'll see that mapped out. The buyer is in the middle, driving everything, and then you map your process to your buyer. So, again, I think that it's well said that we don't control it, but making your buyer the hero, making them smarter is a really great way to drive successful sales and marketing initiatives. That's a true north and always leads to better marketing efforts and better win rates.
And
So,
Karen,
go
sorry.
ahead, Chris. No, go ahead.
No, and Karen, to what you said before, yes, people want to be educated, they want to be smarter, they want to learn more. So it's just constantly providing that education, that North Star for them. Whether it be a marketing person or someone looking for senior living or someone looking to go to an event, people are always gathering more information and hopefully from trusted sources.
I did want to make one other comment, that we really haven't talked about personas and we haven't talked about the stakeholders inside of the buyer's journey, because I think that that's important when we're creating content. And one of the strategies that I've used a lot is I don't often, especially early in the buyer's journey, early in the sales process, I don't get access to decision makers. We can, and I think this is part of the interesting part where sales tries to really highly define a sales process, and they say, well, I'm not going to talk to you unless I can get a decision maker on the call. And while that's an admirable goal, it doesn't happen very frequently. So as marketers, I think that we can create content that is designed for a decision maker, but is going to get passed through an influencer. So if I can get some of my content to an influencer who might make that influencer really smart and might make that influencer more easily present my use case to the end buyer, to the decision maker, then I think that I'm doing good for the entire sales process. I'm making that influencer buy into my process. I'm making him or her look good. And then they take that, because they now are armed with better information. They take that up to the decision maker. And if they can use my content to help further the sales process, then that works all in my favor. But I have to remember who I'm talking to in addition to when I'm talking to them in the journey itself.
Sorry, I lost my mute button here. I was just thinking we have like 8 minutes left, but maybe each of you want to just do a overview or some thoughts to leave the audience with. Just closing remarks, because we've got 8 more minutes and no more questions. So what do you guys think? Who wants to start?
I'll make mine really quick and easy.
Okay.
That it will take twice as long and be twice as hard as you think it is. So under promise, over deliver. And when people are demanding results from you, try and be as upfront with them as you possibly can, because it never ceases to amaze me how much more difficult it has become and how much more money it takes to really try and launch something new.
I think where I would say, for people to focus on is really make sure you're making the world a better place. Produce educational content, provide resources and information, help your potential customers be better, help them be smarter, be part of the process that educates them. And if you're not willing to invest in that, you're going to have a hard road ahead to be able to engage and drive more opportunities at that bottom of the funnel. So assume that you're going to have a heavy load at the top of the funnel, and don't assume it's just magically all going to appear for you. So be committed to the whole journey.
There's a question that just went into the chat around leads. Where do your leads usually come from? Are they referrals, ads, search engine optimization, or something else? I hate to say this, but it depends. And depends on whether we're talking about B2C or B2B, depends on what industry, it depends on, what you're trying to aim for. So I would say that, test and learn. And I guess this goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, which is, whatever you're doing in marketing, I think that it's critical that if marketing is going to become a decision maker within an organization and, make an impact on the business, moving away from a support function and toward the commercial agenda is critical. The way to do that is through data-driven decisions. And so back to where do your leads usually come from, sitting down with sales, defining what a lead is and what a qualified lead is, and then going after those qualified leads with precision in a surgical way that can be measured is critical. Using digital and activities from your sales force is critical, and then tracking and measuring. I can't stress enough, though, how important data-driven decisions and buyer journey mapping is. So, get obsessed with data and let that drive your success is my advice to anyone on this call.
I want to add on to that and say absolutely that it depends, but I would just say this: there are two ways to get leads. You either buy them or earn them. And in the beginning, if you don't have brand equity, if you don't have a large customer base, if you don't have people that you can go out to very easily and say, come buy stuff for me, and they already trust you, you're going to have to buy them. And to buy them, you have to figure out how much that's going to cost and where they're going to come from. But while you're buying leads, you have to begin the process of earning them. And that is through education and content and investing in search engine optimization. I think that going to the grocery store and buying apples is buying those leads, and you get them really quickly. Planting a seed to grow an apple tree is search engine optimization, and it's going to take a while. It's going to take 6 or 12 months for that strategy to begin working. But you need to plant the apple tree as soon as you can afford to. You need to plant that because it's going to take a long time to grow. But once you have some of that, those established food producing trees in your backyard, then you can begin decreasing some of your buy strategy, and you can and you profit more from your earn strategy.
I love that analogy. That was beautiful. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, Shane or GB, I'm stealing it also. And I have the simplest answer for this question. says, where do your leads usually come from? Are they referrals, ads, SEO, or something else? My answer is yes.
Wherever you're putting your dollars.
And my second answer is apples.
That's great. I love it, guys. Okay, so Karen, did you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up? You didn't get a chance to say.
I know I data-driven decisions. That's my closing thought. Drop the mic.
Perfect. Okay, so we'll go ahead and wrap up. We've only got like 2 minutes left anyway here. And we do like to end on time to get everybody back to their work day. So we hope you found value in our panel. We look forward to your feedback. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Enterprise Bank, Commercial Trelure, Spoke Marketing, St. Louis Makes Carmody McDonald. And you can find all of our speakers on LinkedIn, and they'll be happy to connect with you. On behalf of all of us at the Earning Curve, thank you, and we will see you back here on August 31st for another great panel. This one is on understanding your professional sales types and why that matters. And that webinar will help you to learn tips for hiring the right salespeople that are a good fit for your organization. And have a great day, and we'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.